Hey, welcome back, everybody. Of course, you know me. My name is Dr. Keith McNally. This is the Trail to Transformation podcast. This is the podcast about veterans helping veterans. I'm here with my co-host, Jody Holeton, and I'm going to get this right, Ryan Bugsby, right?
Yep, that's me.
And we're going to talk to Ryan because he is a success story. And Jody has more than once told me that. So we're going to find out what that success story is, how he got to be a success, and what he's doing with that success. Ryan, welcome to the conversation.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's kind of dive into where we need to get started. You served when, where, how, with whom? Let's kind of get the basics out of the way.
All right. So I originally enlisted in June of 1999. I entered active duty in 2000, where I was stationed, or where I entered the infantry. I was a mortarman for that time, and I went out to, yeah, just like you, where I went out to Fort Irwin as my first duty station. After that, I had a break in service for from 2003 to 2006 in May. Well, I'd say break in service. I was in the reserves as a PSYOP, but we weren't very active at the time. I think they were transitioning to closing that duty station down. But then 2006, I went back to active duty because I missed that fellowship that being a soldier has. Yeah, even though you get yelled at, you remember all the bad times where you active duty. When you get out of the military, you start remembering all the cool stuff and all the friends that you had made along the way. So I joined the military again, where again I was 11 Charlie. I was in Mortarman, and I went to Fort Campbell, where I was stationed there for about 6 years, I believe. Deployed 3 times out of there, and on my final deployment, they pushed me. They gave me orders to Fort Myer, which is the old guard, and I was there for a little over 2 years, where I messed up my ankle pretty bad. I had other injuries at the time too, but I messed up my ankle pretty bad, and one of my cousins, who's also in the military, made the suggestion that I transition over to becoming a humancer. So I was doing that. I was putting my packet together. I had everything set up with the retention NCO because he was going to help me out. And then when I went into a shopette that's on Fort Myer, and I saw this magazine that says, "Hey, do you want to become a hacker?" I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna pick up this magazine and read it." It was the Military Times. So I flipped to the page, start reading about it, and then that very next day, I went to the retention NCO's office and I said, "This right here, I want to do this thing. Whatever these words are, I want to do it." And it was a 35 Quebec, which is a crypto analytic network warfare specialist. They've pretty much gotten rid of that MOS since then. It's now 17 Charlie, which goes by other names that I don't know yet because I never bothered learning. I'm a great NCO, I promise. Uh,
All good, all good. And so you had quite an illustrious career and you decided to kind of transition out and become a nerd. So you went from a mortarman, infantry, to doing nerdy geek stuff.
yep. Yeah. And I did that basically a split for 10 and 10. So 10 years in the infantry and then 10 years in the cybersecurity nerdy kind of realm.
And
So,
go ahead, Jody, go ahead.
And with that, you got highly sought after cyber training, certified ethical hacker, right? The cool certs, top secret clearance, and more importantly, security operations center time, malware fixing time.
yep, I was a malware analyst. I helped, I guess, I helped stood up a tool development cell, which was the uh, CSDD, which the second D stood for Defensive Operations, where they already had another type of one out there somewhere in the world before that. So we were the first defensive cyber operations tool development cell. So that was pretty awesome. Yeah. And then I eventually transitioned to more of a leadership position because as a senior NCO, you eventually have to do that thing. And I will be honest that I did that kicking and screaming at first. And then when I realized that there has to become a time that you have to be a little off keyboard and you have to allow the younger, newer, people to come in and do their thing. Like I realized that, oh my gosh, this is the obvious logical next step, and it's badass. And it also allowed me extra time to go do the research for getting out of the military. So
For our audience, I want to clarify something. You have mentioned the fact that you're an NCO, non-commissioned officer. For those who are not familiar with that term, you never went to college.
no, I never. I kept taking a class here and there, but I never even got enough college credit to get an associate's degree. Like I don't even have my core credits out of the way yet. So um,
And the reason I mention that is because not to put anybody down, but you are a success, multi success through certifications, training, and hands-on experience. Yes?
right, yep,
Yeah.
and applying myself, just my work, yeah, getting worth like using the work ethic that was built up through my military career and applying that to every single thing I did. And yeah, and because of that, people looked in my direction or remember my name when they retired and they drug me out to do other things. So
Jody, you were going to say something.
Well, so you went to some of the big important, like the Microsoft Coding Academy, right?
no, it was called TDQC, which is Tool Development Qualification Course. And that was through University, not University of Maryland, University College, but one of the University of Maryland college, like within their little constellation. They came down, um, that came down. They went through the Army to create a tool development program for all of us, so that we had tool developers on both the offensive and defensive side. And that was an 11-month course. That was all of 2018.
And that has very specific gateways, like PSYOP selection, special forces selection, where you got tested and you got evaluated, right? Real
Right.
hands-on work.
Right. So yeah, they gave you a whole bunch of like small projects to do beforehand to even like assess whether or not you want like they would want you to be part of that program. They gave this a logical programming thing that you had to work your way through, and you obviously also had to talk about why you wanted to be a tool developer within the Army. So
So, from your last 10 years in service, you were creating for yourself what may seem an easy transition into the civilian world. Everybody loves a nerdy geek who can do a whole bunch of cool stuff with the computer, right? But your story doesn't end there. You still had to transition out and you got hurt along the way.
right. Was it 2019? I think it was. Um, So I still had 3 or 4 years left in the military. I was basically just doing extra PT in the afternoon, and I messed up my right leg, tore my front right quad, and tore ligament in my hip and in my knee. Um, but yeah, so other than the injuries itself, you're talking about the like transitioning out, like during that last phase.
Well, because
Um,
off the call, you mentioned that there was a sergeant major or somebody who said really need to
yeah.
take care of yourself because you're about to step into a whole nother world. You spent 20 years as a service member. The civilian world is nothing like that.
Right. Like I mentioned, the sergeant major said, you know, when because he saw that I was still kind of like busting my tail to take care of or not just take care of soldiers, but like take care of work stuff and things like that. When I had other NCOs that could step up and take my place, he came to me and he had noticed it and he said, you know, when you leave the military, no one's going to remember who you are. The military is not going to remember you. So you need to start taking this time to take care of yourself instead of you taking care of other people. We've got plenty of other NCOs and officers out there that can step up and take care of soldiers for you. Uh, and so you need to start using this time to take care of yourself. So I took his advice and started like using that entire last year that I was in the military to basically take care of myself. And by taking care of myself, I was starting to do research for job placement. I was constantly going and doing recruiting events. I was doing research on VA.gov to see like what my other options were. I know there's a lot of um, heartache sometimes about the VA, and those are valid. But like lot of literature just on the VA.gov website itself that can help us. It's just sometimes confusing to get to those links, but they will help you whether you are fully disabled or you spent just 3 years in the military and got out or whatever. There's literature on that website to help you get ahead. But yeah, I started doing like job placement research. I was getting my medical stuff taken care of. Every little headache or ankle pain or a little pinky pain or anything like that that I had, I was at sick call getting that stuff noticed or taken care of so that when I finally had my physical for getting out of the military, they would go over every little thing because like there'd be like I had a shoulder injury from several years ago that I totally forgot about, and I was just dealing with the pain, right? I went to sick call one time for it, but because it was on my record somewhere, that guy did like the full rotation stuff, and I've realized that my shoulder is jacked up. Like I can't do like a full like arm thing, yeah, like that side. I can't do that with this one right here. It hurts even before I get to like to parallel. So
Oh,
like I was trying to make sure that I annotated every little thing because I knew that when I would go and to get my physical, I was going to forget something. So yeah, I was trying to use as much time as I could to take care of myself. Yep.
So, so quick question. You and I, so I was out processing at the time. Okay. And do you feel like at Fort Gordon, now Fort Eisenhower, they gave you a good checklist to go off when you transitioned out?
Uh, I'm going to go from a comparison based off of 2003 and 2023. In 2003, it was just a rubber stamp. Like they just gave you some stuff, rubber stamped it, said, "Yep, you did this, this, and this. You're ready to go out into the civilian world." And here at Fort Eisenhower, right here, I'm not up there. Down at Fort Eisenhower, I felt that the difference between 2003, 2023 was night and day. Like they were very hands-on. They were calling me to check up on me. They were asking me if I had job placement. They were reviewing my resume and giving me like suggestions on how to improve my resume. But on the same token, I had to stay on top of that. Like I had to constantly check back in with them and show them that I was very much like engaged with what they were trying to provide me. Because just like a lot of other career fields, whenever you're going through, thousands and thousands of soldiers or something like that, or thousands of people all the time, you start kind of becoming apathetic because you see that a lot of people will put on a face and they'll say, "Hey, yeah, yeah, I'm doing all these things," but you're not really doing it. You're just kind of like coasting through, trying to get to the end.
mm,
Um, and then once somebody in these fields in these support fields start seeing that you show interest and trying to get yourself set up for success, they start going, oh, this is a guy that really wants to do these things. Well, let's start, scoring ourselves away a little bit more and helping this guy out a little bit more. And I'm not saying that they're like relaxed and lazy or something like that, but I'm saying that like the more you push them to help you out, the more they're going to want to help you out. The more they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, somebody actually values what I'm doing for them. Sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good, Jody.
No, no. So just by you following the checklist for Soldier for Life,
Hmm.
and you being engaged and you being active, did what you got a good VA loan, right?
Yep.
You went to the network meetings, Caroline Ale House, like they told you to, got your resume together. You went to the hospital before you exited. You got a VSO. You and I both remember the VSO at Fort Eisenhower, right? Um, and that has led you up to here. Could you talk about like the money parts and how you're all set in? You've got a homestead, a real job, benefits.
So, luckily or not, I got so this is my second VA home loan. Um, my first one was the house at Fort Eisenhower, and we probably wouldn't even gotten that first one had we not decided to keep pushing past our fear of getting a home loan. And then once we realized how much money we're actually going to save by getting or buying a house over renting a house. We're like, we've got it. We just have to get a house. So, um, but the VA loan process isn't easy, but it's also not any harder than getting any other kind of loan. You could call up almost any loan company now. Like I think mine's with Movement Mortgage, and if you say, "Hey, I want to work through a VA loan," they'll set themselves up to help you through that process. And if they don't know how to use that process, I know it sounds weird and I hate pointing back to the va.gov website, but there is, in fact, I'm looking at one of them right now. There are links for us to help us get that VA loan started. But yeah, does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was very scary. I'll put this for, it was very scary my first time. The second time wasn't so scary for me. I think it was so scary for my wife, but it was definitely a very scary process because that was the most amount of money I was going to spend on anything ever. Like, and that was the first time. And the second time is even worse because I was spending more money for my wife, but not for me. For me, I knew how much I could handle. But
So to kind of give those who are watching and listening some details of how you made the transition out of the military successfully, you went to those, all those network. You showed up at, career fairs. How did all of those things kind of work for you and benefit you in the long run?
so, it helped me with the interview process. Like just going one time got rid of the fear of actually going to those things. I don't know if other people have gone to fairs before on their own or anything like that, but it can be very intimidating, especially when you're like looking at your resume and it's like just one little page of stuff. You might think that that one little page of stuff isn't going to get you hired anywhere, but I guarantee you, those people that are going there to those job fairs, they're wanting you. They want you, the veteran, to apply for their company so that you can work for them, and not just so they can fill a slot that says check the box they hired a veteran. That they want you. They know that you have work ethic, you have value, and they want that out of you. Um, and once I realized that, it could because I went to a job fair and I think it was an Amazon recruiter of all people who was basically telling me that because they were looking at my little thing and I thought it wasn't competitive and they're saying those exact same words I just said. Like we have leadership skills, even the lowest private that just came in, got themselves hurt, and now have been medically chaptered or something like that. That private has value and leadership potential that has been built up through just basic training that these companies want because they know that they can utilize that or abuse it or whatever you want to call it, but they can utilize that. So just doing that one time broke that into me. And then the following times was like me putting my name out there. I saw some familiar faces. I had a notebook with me. I started taking notes of companies that I visited multiple times or that I was interested in. And like the next time I saw that recruiter, I was like, "Hey, John, hey, like Tom, like you remember me, I'm Ryan Bugsby. I gave you my resume. I made the changes that you guys recommended. Here's my new resume." And them like them being able to put a face to the name or them seeing that you are still motivated to work for them, I think helped me get ahead. And it was like an icebreaker because by the time I actually finally did start doing actual interviews, I was a lot more relaxed. I wasn't so uptight. I wasn't sweating buckets, like some people might have been doing when they first get out of the military. It became a very easy situation when I started talking to people. Um, but yeah, I don't know that transition period. I think I'm very thankful for the leadership that I had for them giving me the time and the opportunity to go out to do all these things and to be successful. Yes, part of it is required because at SFL TAP you have like little wickets you have to go through uh, for most bases, but like I try to use that and abuse as much extra room that I could to make sure that I was successful when I got out of the military. Because, like I said previously in the call, um, I was deathly scared I wasn't going to make enough money to be where I wanted to be. I wanted to be at a certain level, and here I am. Like,
Well, you had high expectations for yourself. Jody, with the time that we have remaining, any last questions or thoughts?
Uh, So I do. So Ryan, can you give us one piece of advice? So you're a success. You got your disability. You're getting medical support. You've got a homestead, VA home loan. One of the most sought after computer job. Okay. What advice can you give to other veterans?
don't stop trying. Reach out to people. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. Don't be afraid to go to the VFW. Don't be afraid to find that guy that you hated in the military. Go talk to that guy. That guy outside the military, totally different person. He's going to help you out because we're at the end of the day, even that guy realized that without this little connection outside the military, we only have ourselves or maybe our family members. So like don't don't think that you're alone. Know that somebody is out there willing to help you out. I guarantee you, if you don't want to go out to the VA, please go to the VFW. Please go to your local American Legion location. Those men and women that are at those places, even though they're kind of just chilling out, maybe drinking a beer or something like that, they will be somebody that you can reach out to for a contact, whether it be for a job or to get further help. So if you don't know how to get the help, somebody out there is going to be able to help you out. So please reach out, please take care of yourself, and and just don't give up. Just keep trying.
Ryan, there's no better way to end this conversation than with those words. And so for those of you who have been watching and listening, this is Dr. Keith McNally, Jody Holeton, and Ryan Bugsby on the call. So this is Trail to Transformation, Veterans Helping Veterans, and I'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you, guys.